Welcome to Not That Girl Anymore, part of the Liminal Network. I'm your host, Dawn Bouillon. This is more than a podcast. It's a sisterhood. We're reclaiming our voices, our worth, and our lives. One story, one truth, one brave step at a time. Hey, friends. Welcome back to Not That Girl Anymore. I'm your host, Dawn Bouillon, a trauma therapist and coach, and the founder here of Embrace Your Brave. And this is a space where we can have real conversations, we can share our stories, and we can continue to heal together. And today we're talking about something that's close to my heart, and especially this week. Today we're talking about spiritual anxiety. If you've ever carried this low hum of fear around your faith, maybe like felt panic when you questioned a teaching, or guilt when you missed church, or even dread when you prayed because you're afraid you're going to say it wrong, I want you to know you're not alone. And here's something I need you to hear right away. This is not a sign of weak faith. It's not a flaw in you. And as a trauma therapist, I really love the way Tiffany Yecke Brooks names it in her book. Spiritual anxiety is a trauma response, not a faith failure. Let that sink in. You are not broken. You are responding to something that harmed you. Spiritual anxiety is a trauma response, not a faith failure. So spiritual anxiety happens when faith gets tangled with fear. When the God we were told to trust feels more like a harsh critic, waiting to punish us, than a source of love and safety. And here's an important distinction. Religious trauma is the event that was done to us, right? It's the sermons, the systems, the leaders who use fear and shame to control us. The spiritual anxiety is what happened inside of us as a result. It's what grows inside of us because of that trauma. It's the guilt, it's the dread, the sleepless nights, right? So we could say religious trauma plants the seed, and spiritual anxiety is the fruit that grows inside of us. And here's the thing. The trauma that happened inside of you, right? It can heal. We can heal. Trauma can be healed because trauma is the wound. So let's name some of the ways this could show up in our lives. Spiritual anxiety could look like that knot in your stomach when you walk into church, or that guilt that you feel for missing church, or missing a service, or not praying enough, or the fear of punishment if you doubt or if you question what you were taught, and that constant sense of never measuring up. I have walked with clients who carried this deep anxiety of whether or not they were really saved. Did I pray the right words? Did I mean it enough? Did I do it right? I know others that have lived with the crippling anxiety about the rapture and the fear of being left behind. And some were told just one unconfessed sin could send you straight to hell. And listen, those are not neutral teachings. Those things wire our nervous systems for fear. That is trauma, not truth. And it's not even just the sermons. Many of us probably remember the youth group skits of being left behind, or the crucifixion reenactments that we were told. This is your fault. This is what your sin did. That's not devotion in youth. That's trauma. It planted shame instead of love. I can see this so clearly in my own story, in my own childhood. One memory that stands out to me, and I laugh about this now, but I remember as a kid, I was telling my mom a story about something that happened on the bus one day, and I accidentally slipped and I bleeped out the wrong word. and I and I accidentally said shit. And I was devastated. I mean, hear me out. I was devastated by what I did. I literally put myself in a corner and I punished myself. Nobody had to shame me. I shamed myself. That's how deep the fear already lived in me as a kid. That's spiritual anxiety, right? It doesn't just live in the big doctrines. It creeps into the tiniest corners of life, like one accidental cuss word. I remember also crying to my mom one time when I couldn't go to church because I was sick. And she was so concerned because she just thought it was very strange for a child to carry that much shame and guilt about missing one Sunday. She was starting to notice what I couldn't yet see, how harmful the church was becoming for me. So just to clarify, I went to church with my grandparents. My parents didn't go. And because of that, part of the church's message to me was that my parents didn't love me because they didn't do all the things that the church says you're supposed to do. They didn't go to church every week. They didn't read me the Bible. And so they told me they didn't love me. Some of my deepest regret in life is how many years I spent condemning my own family, trying to evangelize them or save them. Whereas what the truth is, when I look back on this, my family looked so much more like Jesus than the church did. I've said this before, but my mom is the epitome of love. She lived it daily. It's just part of who she is. And yet the church taught me to shame her, to question her, and to see her as less than. The truth is, and I'm speaking from my own experience here, church taught me more about how to hate than how to love. More about how to judge people, exclude people, and shame people than how to embody Jesus. And those distortions don't just wound us, they wound the people that we love the most. There's a word I want to throw out there to you, and maybe you've heard of this before. It was kind of new to me. It's scrupulosity. It's like religious OCD. It looks like obsessively worrying that you've sinned, or you didn't pray right, or you didn't repent enough. It shows up in constantly repeating the sinner's prayer over and over again. Every altar call. Anybody? Confessing the same thing again and again, never feeling quite secure in your salvation. And if that's you, I just want to say you're not broken, you're not weak. That's trauma in your nervous system, and it can heal. And I also want to say I can totally relate. Now, today, many of you might be aware of this, and some of you might not be aware at all. But you've probably seen posts on social media saying that the rapture is supposed to happen this week. And I want to just pause here and speak to that with both care and truth. First of all, if you're feeling afraid, you're not alone. Many of us have carried that fear since childhood. We were told Jesus might return at any moment and we could be left behind. I still remember the Left Behind series, those books and movies that terrified a generation. That was us. Looking back now, I see that so differently. That was not love. That was cruelty. That was taking advantage of young, vulnerable minds in order to gain power and control. And maybe you felt that too. Lying awake at night, terrified that you'd be left behind, or walking into an empty house and panicking because you thought your family had disappeared. For me as a little girl, I was secretly feeling ashamed because I didn't want the rapture to happen. I didn't I didn't want to go. I wanted to grow up and fall in love and have a family. And I felt guilty for even wanting that. And here's something that might bring you some relief because it did me. The idea of the rapture, the way it was taught to us, isn't even like an ancient Christian belief. It actually started in the 1800s with a preacher named John Nelson Darby. And then it spread through the Scofield Reference Bible and later through books like the Left Behind series that I just talked about. So for nearly 1800 years before that, Christians never believed in a secret escape plan. The focus was always on God's presence here, making all things new, not abandoning us. So if your heart feels heavy today, I want you to take a breath with me. Whew, right? Just put your feet on the ground, put your hand on your heart, and just say to yourself, I am safe in this moment. Love has not abandoned me. I'm not alone. And the truth is this: God is love. And love doesn't terrify children into obedience. Love doesn't abandon families. Love doesn't leave us panicked and powerless. So if fear rises up in you today, I want you to know that's not faith. That's trauma. And trauma can heal. Love is stronger than fear. So when we carry spiritual anxiety, it's not just in our heads, it's in our bodies. And I know I'm not the only one. I know so many of you can relate to this. But this is what it can look like. It can look like that constant scanning. Did I do it right? Am I safe? Am I enough? Is God pleased with me? Am I good enough? And then getting stuck in that fight or flight or freeze, right? That hypervigilant state. And carrying that shame so deep in our soul that it impacts every part of our life. And that spiritual anxiety makes us more vulnerable to being manipulated and exploited. And if you remember, Jesus himself pushed back on religious exploitation. He flipped tables because people were being manipulated in God's name. His strongest anger was for religious leaders who used God as a weapon. That was how Jesus felt about it. And so, yes, the cost is high for this. It's living in constant fear instead of peace. It's struggling to trust ourselves. It's nightmares. It's panic attacks. It's religious OCD. It's staying small, silenced, and ashamed. And it's losing years of our lives to fear and to leaders who never had our best interests at heart. And that's why I call it trauma. It doesn't just sit in our beliefs, it impacts our whole lives. And the more I heal, the more I see Jesus so differently. You know, for years I believed the message that Jesus died for me because I was worthless, I was sinful, I was broken, and that his suffering was my fault. And now I owed God my life in fear and in shame. But now I see Jesus as someone who was killed by religious leaders who couldn't handle his message of love and freedom and inclusion. He came to show us that God has always been love. In the Old Testament, oftentimes people's perception of God is what they were talking about. It was their cultural lens. And their perception of God was that he was angry and he was abusive. And you see that all throughout the Old Testament. But Jesus came to say that was never who God was. That was their perception of who God was, but it was never who God was. And Jesus showed us through his life what God was and is and always will be. And it's love, and it's freedom, and it's inclusion, right? And when you look at it that way, the cross isn't about punishment. It's about a love so strong that it couldn't be silenced by violence or shame or death. And honestly, I think this is why so many people are leaving the church today. It's not because they don't care, but it's because the church has lost sight of love, the very essence of God. And when communities center fear and control instead of compassion, people walk away. And sometimes that walking away is holy. It's saying, I refuse to stay in systems that distort God's heart. At the center of it all, God is love, always has been, and always will be. If it's not love, it's not God. And how do we heal? How do we heal? I want us to always know that there's hope for healing. So, number one, awareness. Naming this as trauma and not weakness. And then it's compassion. It's treating ourselves with that gentleness and that curiosity and that compassion instead of more shame. And then it's reconnecting with our body, feeling safe again in our body. You can do this through grounding work and breath work and movement. And then what's really helped me is reframing. See Jesus as love, not punishment. See God as love and unity and healing and wholeness. And if it's not that, it's not God. And then community, healing in safe spaces where we're seen and known and loved. And listen, we just start somewhere. We don't heal overnight, but healing is absolutely possible. I've seen it and I've lived it. And so as we close, I just want to invite you to pause with me and take a deep breath and just gently whisper to yourself, I don't have to perform to be worthy. My faith does not have to feel like fear. And I am free to walk in love and truth. Because, friend, you are not that girl anymore, the one silenced by fear. You are becoming the woman who heals, who reclaims, who knows that love gets the final word. And if you've made it this far in listening to this, that itself is healing. You're already choosing love over fear, even by just being here. So if this is you and you can relate to this spiritual anxiety that we've talked about today, and you can feel that deep in your bones, right? Because it started so early for so many of us. And you're starting to see it for what it is, and you're ready to heal. Reach out, okay? Find us. And I want to let you know that because this is my heart and because my passion is creating safe spaces for women to heal, I have a program coming up very soon called Reclaiming Faith. It's for women who are ready to untangle that fear from faith and reclaim your voice and rebuild spirituality on your own terms. It's a place where we can share our stories and we can be seen and known and loved and validated, and where we can be a part of healing each other in community. Because you deserve a faith and a freedom that feels like love. So remember, you matter, your story matters, your voice matters, your pain matters, your dreams matter, and you are not that girl anymore. Hey friend, just a quick note. I am a licensed therapist, but this podcast isn't therapy. It's not meant to diagnose or treat anything. It's here to offer you support, encouragement, and real conversation. If you're struggling, please reach out to a trusted professional. You are not alone, and you are so worthy of healing. Even if your voice shakes, keep using it. Your healing matters. If you're ready to go deeper, you can book a session by clicking the link in the show notes or visiting our website, embraceyourbrave.org, to learn more about our therapy and trauma-informed coaching options. Let's explore how we can walk this journey together. You are not alone. Embrace your brave, sis. You're not that girl anymore.